Oh man, the way they just showed something, I can't even explain it that way. I'm just going to tell you what came through. I'm not going to tell you the other part. Somebody was, I guess, complaining, but in the sweetest way. It wasn't like the annoying way, but it was definitely still complaining nonetheless. It was still, I was going to say bitching and moaning, but it wasn't grinding like that. It was more of like whining. And again, it's it's all of what it was, but it's the wrong words to capture the feeling. Nonetheless, I just stopped them in their tracks and I was like, what is the problem? What's the problem? And they went back to the whining and whatever. And I said, no. What's the real problem, right? It's like what the real problem was. So you don't have to bear with me through our very long, it took a while to get to it because they just couldn't fess up. They couldn't see it. They couldn't hear themselves. Was that they were looking to be babied, right? Like they were needy. They wanted people outside of them to make them happy. They were upset because these people were not making them happy. They were not babying them, mothering them, smothering them, giving them attention and love and doting on them. And that really upset them. This was an adult energy. And that's why I'm laughing. And I, pointed all of this out and was like, so you're an adult. How does one make oneself happy? Who's responsible for that? It was really funny because when I said, who is responsible for that? They said, all those people. Sorry, that's so funny to me, but it's true. That's how a lot of people think. We all do it at times. But when you hear yourself, you can realize how silly that is. Nobody is responsible to make you happy except for you. You have to make yourself happy. That's your job. That's an inside job. That's your job. And people forget that. Some people just don't even know that. People don't understand those words, that language. They just don't even get it. So they end up like this person who is just distraught over all these people. And they can't understand what's wrong with all these people. Why are all these people not making me happy? Why aren't they standing on their heads and doing everything they can do to please me? Oh, God. Yeah. Oh boy. It's rampant, though. And it is like a disease, and it's like it's contagious, This is why it's so important who you surround yourself with, right? Because what happens is if you're not fully loving yourself and then surrounding yourself with other people who love themselves, or at least are doing that work. In other words, I'm always making that effort, but am I perfect all the time? Not even close. But that's always the intention, right? And I'm willing to hear my downfalls, And so if you're not around people who are proactively attempting to love themselves and honor themselves, but you fall into trauma bonds, that's with friends, that's with family, that's with lovers, that's all over the place. Everybody starts to take on a role. Right? The people pleaser, the egomaniac, the egomaniac is the one who has the least self-esteem, and then the people pleaser realizes that and has pity on them and sees how pathetic they are. But then the egomaniac thinks that they're in charge and they're running the show and using the people pleaser as a footstool. Meanwhile, the people pleaser is like, oh, that sad, pathetic soul has to feel like he has his foot on my head. It's like you fall into all these slippery dynamics that are just wildly unhealthy. And then you're seeing outside yourself, and it just starts to get sticky and icky, and it's a mess. It's a mess. And then it does become contagious because everybody's slipping and sliding all over the place, and nobody is standing upright. Nobody is fully loving and accepting themselves. Nobody has a backbone. So it's a fucking disaster, right? It's like people pretending to have a backbone. There's people who have no backbone. There's people who have too much of a backbone. I mean, it's like, oh my God. So, okay, excuse me. What are you showing me? It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to see sometimes. It's people. Well, that's with everything in life. Isn't that the case? It's like, sometimes it's clear as day. People who are wearing a mask, it's kind of like depending on what level they're on, but it doesn't matter because it's like the idea of new level, new devil, where manipulators who just look to pretend or project or mask, they get better at it over time. So it's, to me, that's why, yet again, it's still the same answer. As long as you are continually looking to align with yourself, and yes, you're going to fall offline here and there, but as long as that's the goal, then eventually you do see it. But I think the harder thing is peeling yourself away because of said previous dynamics, right? Like there's been plenty of times where I saw I should have left, but I felt bad for them. But I can't do that. That's not my job to feel bad for them, because then I do become the people pleaser because I see them as pathetic, as too weak, as incapable. And that's not how we want to see anybody. We want to see everybody as strong and capable, and they're making the choices they're making. They're choosing to do that. So let them. But you don't like it. It doesn't feel good. So you leave. And that can be challenging because you're like, no, but I love them. Okay, well, make a choice. Honor you or honor them. Right? Like sometimes it isn't both. It is, you have to do one or the other. Or you're going to choose to put yourself first or them first. And then to me, when you can simplify it down and see things clearly and see it like that, it doesn't make it all of a sudden easy, but to me, it does make it easier, right? It's like, oh, it's still the hard thing to do, but it's clear what needs to be done. All right? You always choose you. Always. Doesn't mean it doesn't suck, but when you can see it clearly for that, when you can boil it down and be like, oh, that's the choice? If I stay, I'm choosing them. Oh, easy. Bye. No problem. But you sometimes have to boil it down to see clearly. Because that's not always the dynamic, or that's not always the case. Okay. Oh, God, excuse me. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.